Yesterday, we have started to explore the intention of goodwill. A quick summary, the intention of goodwill opposes the intention of ill will, thoughts governed by anger and aversion. As in the case of desire, there are two ineffective ways of handling ill will. One is to yield to it, to express the aversion by bodily or verbal action. This approach releases the tension, helps drive the anger out of one's system. Yeah. And remember I talked about the business about venting our anger? I actually found it, so let me open it up. It's called the fragment room. So give me a second. This one. You guys seen this before? Yeah. So this is something where you can, not sure if there's a photo of this, but let's take a look. Yeah, the fragment room is a rage room where you are encouraged to let down your walls and release your inner frustrations. You know, let's smash the anger to fragments. So there's some photo here. So you can go into the room, wear a safety gear, and then you can smash everything you want inside. Yeah. So people even make a business out of this venting system. So it's quite interesting. I don't know how much they charge actually. That's one. Do you guys know how much they charge? Package. It's $38 just to smash stuff up. So it's quite interesting. Yeah. And there's an add-on some more. Beast mode. Electronics. Well, people really make a business out of this. Yeah, so this is one of the worldly ways where we can counteract anger to drive the anger out of one system. But it also poses a certain dangers. It breeds resentment, provokes retaliation, creates enemies, poisons relationship, and generates unwholesome karma. In the end, it doesn't even leave the system after all. But it's actually driven down to a deeper level where it continues to vitiate one's thoughts and conduct. Yeah. So the first part, when you do it in that room, probably the effect is not that strong. But in the end, it doesn't even solve the root problem. It will still be there. And it might even, become stronger because you keep feeding to the cycle. Yeah. So any of you interested? The fragment room? Maybe all of us angry people, we can book a package together. There's a package for groups or corporate. Yeah. And the second method is the method of repression, which is also similar to when we try to counteract desire, it would not work to solve the root problem as well. So the remedy that the Buddha offers to counteract ill will is called metta. The word is derived from another word meaning friend, but metta signifies much more than ordinary friendliness and usually is translated as loving kindness. So it captures both an intense feeling and also radiating outwards as a heartfelt concern for others' well-being and happiness. And then we also distinguish the kind of love implied by metta. It should be firstly distinguished from sensual love, as well as secondly, the love in personal affection. Sensual love is a form of craving, usually self-directed. And the second one, it still has some degree of attachment. we love a person because they give us pleasure, belongs to our family or group, or reinforces our own self-image. Only rarely does the feeling transcend traces of ego reference, and even then its scope is still limited. It only applies to certain person or group of people while excluding others. Yes, and yesterday we stopped at here. So the love involved in metta, it does not hinge on particular relations or persons. So the reference point of self is utterly omitted. We concern with suffusing others with the mind of loving kindness, and then we want to ideally develop it into a universal state without discrimination or reservation, including animals as well. And if you will, maybe you can include beings in other realms as well. So how then can we develop such a mind of loving kindness? We can cultivate it as an exercise in meditation, which will be explored further in the paragraph we are going to read. Yes. So before I start, any question or comments for the recaps? Okay, if not, then I will continue reading. The method of development is metta bhavana, the meditation on loving kindness, one of the most important kinds of Buddhist meditation. The meditation begins with the development of loving kindness towards oneself. It is suggested that one take oneself as the first object of metta, because true loving kindness for others only become possible when one is able to feel genuine loving kindness for oneself. Probably most of the anger and hostility we direct to others springs from negative attitudes we hold towards ourselves. When metta is directed inwards towards oneself, it helps to melt down the hardened crust created by these negative attitudes, permitting a fluid diffusion of kindness and sympathy outwards. So I think this line here is really, for me, is quite relatable. When you see people are angry, it is usually because the negativity comes from themselves first and foremost. So the one who gets angry usually is the one who also suffers the most. Yeah, so any comment for this first paragraph or questions? Okay, if not, then maybe Shomei, would you like to read the next paragraph?
Once one has learned to kindle the feeling of metta towards oneself, the next step is to extend it to others. The extension of metta hinges on a shift in the sense of identity, on expanding the sense of identity beyond its ordinary confines and learning to identify with others. The shift is purely psychological in method, entirely free from theological and metaphysical postulates, such as that of a universal self immanent in all beings. Instead, it proceeds from a simple, straightforward course of reflection, which enables us to share the subjectivity of others and experience the world, at least imaginatively, from the standpoint of their own inwardness. The procedure starts with oneself. If we look into our own mind, we find that the basic urge of our being is the wish to be happy and free from suffering. Now, as soon as we see this in ourselves, we can immediately understand that all living beings share the same basic wish. All we want to be well, happy, and secure. All want to be well, happy, and secure. To develop metta towards others, what is to be done is to imaginatively share their own innate wish for happiness. We use our own desire for happiness as the key, experience this desire as the basic urge of others, then come back to our own position and extend to them the wish that they may achieve their ultimate objective, that they may be well and happy. Thank you.
Thanks, Romy. Okay, firstly, let's define a few big words here. Kindle, meaning, okay, so Amazon has an ebook reader called Kindle as well. But the actual meaning is, to set something on fire, to arouse or inspire an emotion or feeling. So we want to arouse the feeling of metta, to inspire, to lead the feeling. Secondly, okay, this is a little bit philosophical, but let's just define. Firstly, the shift is purely psychological in method, entirely free from theological. So let's first define theological. Relating to the study of nature of God and religious belief. So this is free from religious belief and metaphysical. Let's define metaphysical. Relating to metaphysics. So let's see what is metaphysics here. Metaphysics is the branch of philosophy that studies the first principles of being, identity and change, space and time causality, necessity and possibility. It includes questions about the nature of consciousness and the relationship between mind and matter. So that's metaphysical, and postulates is a thing suggested or assumed as true as the basis for reasoning, discussion, or belief. So firstly, it is free from any religious related. Secondly, it is also free from a metaphysical point of view. Let's see what's postulate again. Yeah. So it's not religious and it's not metaphysical. Such as that of a universal self immanent in all beings. So let's define immanent here. Yeah. Existing or operating within, inherent. Okay, so this is where we start. It proceeds from a simple, straightforward cause of reflection, which enables us to share the subjectivity of others and experience the world from the standpoint of their own inwardness. So firstly, we start with ourself, oneself. The starting point is relatable, at least for me. If we look into our mind, we find that the basic urge of our being is the wish to be happy and free from suffering. So isn't this true? And I think most of us have share all this with the wish to be happy and free from suffering. That's firstly for ourselves. Then we can also reflect and observe that others, after we see this in ourselves, others also share the same basic wish. All of us wants to be happy and free from suffering. So firstly, all of us in this group, and then secondly, you can also start to expand to your friends, to your families, to the animals, and to whatever beings you encounter. You can start to expand your imagination. And then we start to observe that, yes, all of us share this kind of wish to be well and happy, to be free from suffering. Isn't it? Yeah. So this is very logical, the way we develop the loving kindness. All want to be happy and secure. To develop metta towards others, what is to be done to imaginatively share their own innate wish for happiness? So we come back again, our own desire for happiness as the key, and experience this desire as the basic urge for others too. And then come back to our own position and extend them the wish that they may achieve their ultimate objective, that they may be well and happy. Yes. So a very comprehensive paragraph. Any question?
Brother,
Yes, Jolene, yes.
there was a very good metta meditation led by Venerable Mahinda. I think most of the people, classmates here would have known.
Oh, Bante Mahinda? Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it will be very interesting. I shared the video to you. It's a 10 minutes led by him. And maybe tomorrow or something, you could use that meditation together with the group since you're on this topic, maybe after the next paragraph, if you're okay. I think it really projected this para. How do we do it in a meditation? And I think he guides one of the best metta meditations so far.
I see.
Yeah. If everybody is keen, I think should actually at least listen once and see if it really connects your heart. He is very good in leading this.
I see. Yes. I think that's a good idea. So 10 minutes, right? So maybe
the whole session, in fact, this morning I just did it, so I thought this was quite good. 30 minutes. You just listen to him and he guides you all the way from the beginning to the end. Yeah.
30 minutes.
1-3.
1-3. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good idea. If we were to do this, maybe tomorrow I can start playing it at 7:15 something. Yeah. So are you guys keen with the idea? Put a thumbs up if you guys keen with Jolene's idea. Okay. Yeah. So tomorrow I can, maybe Jolene can share with me later tomorrow.
Yeah, I just send the video to you.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, and then you could experience, see what you'll think. Maybe this para really sinks in with one.
Yes. That's a good idea to put what we have read into practice.
Into practice, yes.
Okay. Thanks, Jolene. And anyone else? Any comments or questions? Okay, Shomi put a thumbs up. Thanks, Shomi. Okay, I think we can close this paragraph. And Shomi, would you like to appoint or nominate the next person to read?
Sister Sai Kyang.
Okay.
Thank you, Sister Shirley. The methodical radiation of metta is practiced first by directing metta to individuals representing certain groups. These groups are set in an order of progressive remoteness from oneself. The radiation begins with a dear person, such as a parent or teacher, then moves on to a friend, then to a neutral person, then finally to a hostile person. Though the types are defined by their relation to oneself, the love to be developed is not based on that relation, but on each person's common aspiration for happiness. With each individual, one has to bring his or her image into focus and radiate the thought, may he or she be well, may he or she be happy, may he or she be peaceful. Only when one succeeds in generating a warm feeling of goodwill and kindness towards that person should one turn to the next. Once one gains some success with individuals, one can then work with larger units. One can try developing metta towards all friends, all neutral persons, all hostile persons. Then metta can be widened by directional suffusion, proceeding in the various directions: east, south, west, north, above, below. Then it can be extended to all beings without distinction. In the end, one suffuses the entire world with a mind of loving kindness, vast, sublime, and immeasurable, without enmity, without aversion.
Thanks, Yang. Yes, so this one starts progressively and remoteness. Firstly, in relation with oneself, we can start with a dear person, our parents, teachers, and then we can move on to a friend, and then to a neutral person, strangers on the street, and then finally to a hostile person. I think this is put last because this is probably the hardest way to impart metta to hostile persons. And so hostile person, can you think of example? Maybe someone like Hitler, Donald Trump, yeah, this kind of people. But it doesn't have to be public figure. It can be also someone that, you know, when you see him gives you some kind of a upset feeling or angriness just by seeing the face. Yeah. And this one you would probably encounter day to day. And Shomi raised her hand. So yes, Shomi.
Sorry, I just want to point out that for the limited Dharma readings that I have done related to loving kindness and how to do it and so forth, it starts with the self, right? And it presupposes that one is okay with oneself. One is able to love oneself. It doesn't it rarely touches on the point. What happens if you don't like yourself? What happens if you are always critical of yourself? That's just one point I want to make. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone have answer to that?
So in the practice of metta meditation, right? Actually, at first we start with just kind of like transform your attitude towards yourself slowly. Every day, yeah, you may hate yourself every day, but every day you start telling yourself, I'm okay, I'm well. I have the ability to be happy. So we start that way. Although every day you still criticize yourself, and every day you tell yourself, I have the ability to be happy and to be well. It kind of like bring your mind from a very critical or negative to a more positive first, slowly. I think you have to start that way because it is harder to go the next step if we cannot transform our mind this way. So we have to do that. We still have to do that, despite we still criticize ourselves. We still very self-blame, even self-pity. Yeah, we do that because that's been with us since beginningless time. Yeah. So we still have to every day be patient about it and continue to tell ourselves that And slowly your mind will work in a slightly different way. You will start to every time feel critical. Maybe something in behind you will start kind of like, instead of letting it be, tell you we are no good, another mind will start talking already and say, not that bad after all. It's not that bad after all. Slowly you will see a slight change in the mind. So that's why this practice is quite powerful, but it has to be more consistent. If it is not consistent, like once a year you do it, then it's not powerful, because it's not powerful enough. It's the power is important. So that's why the meditation should be short, 13 minutes, 10 to 13 minutes. It's easy for anyone to do it every day. So we have to keep it very easy. So that's why I think the way Venerable Mahinda or Bhante Mahinda does it is very effective, because very short and very easy. So if we can put that inside, I think it's very helpful. But that's not the point. If we stop here, it's also a problem, because we tried doing this and then after that we become more like me, because me, I'm like this, I'm like, actually we have to still get out of it eventually to look at, we don't have an inherent self. It's emptiness. We have to go to the next stage eventually, right? But before we go there, we have to do this first, I think. Because if we meditate on emptiness and meditate on metta, it's very contrasting. A lot of verbal always say it's very difficult. If you meditate on metta, you're talking like a self, being a self, ourself. And a self outside there is very visually imagining ourselves. So the self become like very real. But how do we meditate emptiness when you talk so much about yourself, right? So that's how you transform to see this is also empty. This self that you keep thinking about, love and non-love, hate and all that, is actually a non-self. So from there, you slowly move into a different motivation of emptiness. So there's no conflict. It's only when we see emptiness, we see loving kindness, actually. Later on, it'll be reversed. It'll be like, the more emptiness you see, the more loving kindness you will see. It's going to go that way. At first, it's a defense system. It's very difficult to step up to see emptiness when you see metta so much, But then, if you tell yourself, if I see more emptiness, I will see more loving kindness. Why? Because you are always thinking of others. The nature of emptiness is loving kindness. You cannot go against it. Because emptiness means you're thinking of others. You're seeing everything as not inherent existence. So then that emptiness brings more loving kindness. And there's no contrast anymore. It became one embodied mind stream. So that's why we need to start that way and eventually go some direction and then come back and combine them. So when loving kindness and clarism or wisdom come together, our mind changed even more in that sense. So that's why we need both in that way. I don't know how I explained.
That's very powerful, sister.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jolene, for answering Shomi's question. But if I may share quickly my own experience, actually, this is a really good question, and I myself experienced this kind of feeling like 2 or 3 years ago. I was always so self-critical, self-loathing. I always felt like I was not good enough, this kind of feeling. Yeah, so I can really relate to this question. But then how did I overcome it is the next question. It was only when I encountered a clip by Venerable Thupten Chodron. I watched a sharing by Venerable Thupten Chodron. So she touched this part. She actually said, all this attitude of self-loathing, self-critical not in a constructive way, but in a negative way, it is actually all about ego as well, Oh, I hate myself. Oh, I'm not good enough. So it's all about I, and it's all about ego. So when I watched it, I was like, oh, wow. So all this time I was actually being egoistic, being selfish, just direct all the attention towards me, I, Yeah, after I watched that, oh, wow, oh no, this is not the attitude that I should have. Yeah. Afterwards, then I start to work on it gradually. But that clip is really helps me to realize that it's all about, me being selfish. So if I can find the clip, maybe I can share it tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Shomi, for the question.
Thank you.
Okay. So, any other comments before we wrap up or questions? Okay, if not, then let's do a dedication. Please recite together with me. 愿消三障诸烦恼，愿得智慧真明了。普愿罪障悉消除，实是常行菩萨道。阿弥陀佛。Till we meet again, may we be guided by the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And have a day of goodwill ahead. Okay, thanks everyone for participating. I'll see you again tomorrow or next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.